Morning! Okay, at least some of you woke up. Huh? Okay. No, I went to bed last night and I had this horrible nightmare. You know, I came and I stood in front of you and there were 6 people here. Okay, so thank you all for joining me this particular morning. It's going to be a very fun session for the ones who turn up lah. Yang duduk kat belakang tu, datanglah depan sedikit supaya I boleh nampak muka. Okay. Boleh ya? Boleh. Okay, now, the topic of today's session is how to build a distribution channel. Now, the topic doesn't only depend on the fact whether you're a management. Even if you are a producer, what I will tell you will make sense to you and will help you do multi-million-dollar production. Okay, tak? Alright, let's go straight into it. Early in the morning, I know all of you are waiting for exciting story, but there is good news and there is bad news. Nak dengar apa dulu? Bad news first. Okay, the bad news first. The bad news first. The bad news here is this. This is really bad news. Many of you sitting in this room in less than 10 years will no longer be in the insurance industry. Is that bad news or not? Bad news, Bad news. Now let me give you the good news. Many of you who can stay in this business for the next 10 years will make tons and tons of money. Good news? Okay. The question here is which part of you, are you the bad news type or are you the good news type? Now, when we look at this, I don't want to tell all of you how fantastic you are because I'm going to talk to you about a distribution channel. This distribution channel will kill 60% of you. I repeat, this distribution channel will kill 60% of you sitting in this room right now. Okay? Now, what is this distribution channel that I'm talking about? Is this thing called bank assurance. Pernah dengar tak? Takut mereka tak? Tak takut Lepas ni you akan takut lah. Now, I want to tell you something about bank assurance. Okay, now this is not a bank assurance seminar. But the truth of the matter here is this. Throughout the whole world, I repeat, seluruh dunia ini, bank assurance market share is going up. Agency market share is going down. Tak ada satu negara di dunia ini yang trendnya lain. I repeat. Every part of the world, bank assurance market is growing, agency market share is going down. Tak percaya you tengok angka, Belgium 42%, Portugal 87%. If I show you some other statistics, Austria went from 52% to 65%. Tengok angka ya. Turkey went from 46% to 56%. Italy went from 62% to 74%. Tengok setiap tahun, bank assurance market share is going up and up and up. Now some of you were telling me simple thing. Alah, yang tu Eropah. Itu negara maju. You tengok statistik di negara China. In 2005 to 2010, the market share of bank assurance went up from 25% to 45%. Now, this is a market that is like 15 years behind Malaysia, you know. All right, and the bank controls by now 50% of the market share. I want you to understand this. Now, let's take it one step further. Let's talk about our closest neighbor. Our closest neighbor is Singapore. Our closest neighbor in Singapore. Now, just before I forget, they announced that I'm from Singapore. I am not from Singapore, okay? Saya ini negara tumpah darah saya, okay? Okay. I am Malaysian. All right? I grew up in Brickfields. I'm a Victoria Institution boy. Okay? So I am Malaysian. Okay? Dah balik kampung dah, dah 13 tahun ni masih ingat I orang Singapore. So, but I am Malaysian. Okay? Now let's look at Singapore because Singapore is the closest market to all of us. Let's look at it. When I left Singapore and I came back to Malaysia, I will tell you one thing. The agency distribution channel. You know, I am an agent. Kita angkuh one, you know. Kita sombong one, you know. Because we did close to 97% of the premiums in Singapore when I was still in Singapore. All right, we talked to syarikat. Syarikat takut one, you know. We banged the bloody table. The CEO kejut one, you know. And that is how powerful the agents distribution channel was. Now, when we look at market share, in preparation for today's speech, I went to MAS and I looked at the statistic. Dulu kita dekat 100%. Now the market share of the agency distribution channel in Singapore is 46% saja. You nak bang the table. The CEO say, Brambos lah, you siapa? You siapa? Alright? And that is the truth of the matter. Not only that, let me show you the next piece of statistic. The basic bank assurance officer, the policy is 3 times larger than that of an agent. Alright? Throughout the whole world, it's the same thing. Alright? What am I trying to tell you? If you don't do the right thing, the banks are going to kill you. I repeat, kill you. The question then here is, how about Malaysia? Orang kata, I love Malaysia. Malaysia like to think that we are different from all other countries. We are not different from any other country. The trend has begun here. The trend has begun here. Now I'm going to show you a piece of statistic so you understand what I'm talking about. Now many of you are agents. Many of you are managers here. Now can you remember your first year of production? Ingat tak your first year of production? Premium berapa? Premium berapa? 30. Okay. So you just think in your first year of production, you guys were doing 30 lah, 40,000 premium lah, 50,000 premium. Betul tak? Betul tak? Now I'm going to show you a piece of statistic. There is a bank assurance set up in Malaysia. First year in operation, each bank assurance officer does 150,000 premiums. First year, terror atau tak terror? Terror atau tak terror? So I want you to think about it. I want you to understand, this bank assurance structure, bank assurance officer tak ada pengalaman pun, Sales manager tak ada pengalaman, It's not like a 20-year-old GSM, Tak ada pengalaman. And these guys can do 150,000 premium per person. Now I want you to understand, why do I know this? Because I had a chat and they came to me for advice. How to whack the insurance market. And over a cup of tea, I gave them some basic advice. The basic advice I did, And they set up a structure that did 150,000 first year. And their production has not gone in. Too bad this company got bought out by another company. Alright? Because they came and asked me, kita boleh buat 300,000 premium satu orang tak? I said, boleh. Sub sui. Boleh. Okay? Now, I want you to think about it. You guys, right? And this bank assurance structure did 140 million premiums from 900 person. Can you imagine? That's a big structure. Within first year, they are bigger than some insurance company. This is how strong. Now, I want you to understand one thing. They don't know how to do things yet, Banker masih belum tahu bagaimana nak jual insurance, They already whacked that big of a market. Okay, bukan I nak takutkan you. But this is real. They don't really know how to sell yet. One of them dah tahu sedikit-sedikit dah. They can do 150,000. They get their job right, they can do 300, 500,000 premiums per person. Better than some of your agency. Now, where does this successful business model come from? I want you to think about what is it the banks do differently from all of you? Nanti dahaga. Thank you, sir. Thank you for allowing me to drink. Now, the interesting thing that I've noticed about this very successful business structure here is they've got systems and they have got processes in place. Bukan seperti kita agency. Kita ingat saja yang kita ada sistem, ada proses. Tetapi sebenarnya tak ada. Alright? Now, the other thing also I've noticed specifically about how this structure is set up. They operate everything like a business entity. Bank assurance, when they operate everything, they operate like a business entity. And they will spend money. How they spend money is very, very different from how an agent spend money. It's very, very different from how an agency leader spend money. You guys, sorry to say, you don't operate like a business entity. You think you do, but you don't. Alright? You spend money on buying your car, on buying your house, on going on the holiday. They spend money on building up structure and systems, And that is why all over the world, they are killing us. They are killing us. Now, what then must you put in place? I have already told you. I've looked at them. Okay, they are starting to put in systems and processes in place. Okay, now these are the system and processes you need to put in place if you want to compete at the highest level. Now, when you sat down, there was a little piece of paper. All right, and I'm going to go through all these processes that you need to put in place. Because if you can put these places in place, then you will be the 40% that will survive and make tons of money. If you cannot correct and put this system and processes in place, the 60% of you will be irrelevant. You will not be in this insurance industry anymore. I'm going to go through one by one. Now, I'm going to talk about marketing and sales first because that is the area where most of you are focused on. Okay? I'm going to go through one by one. Marketing lain daripada pemasaran, lain daripada penjualan. Okay, let's go through it one by one. Everything I've mentioned are things I've experienced because every time I talk to thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of agents, and they will say certain things to me. This is one of the things I've heard from agents before. I ask agent, you ada target market tak? And their answer here is, I got no target market. Everybody also I can talk to one. Now, if you don't know your target market, that means you don't have a marketing plan. Okay? That means most agent tak ada specific market, tak ada niche market one, Asal ada dua kaki, dua tangan, boleh nafas, I try to sell the particular person. That means you don't have marketing processes. What do you need? You need a system to be able to evaluate your 300 clients, your 500 clients, your 600 clients, demografi berapa. So you have to see, Karuna Murti, dia punya customer is, most of it, 60% is between 46 to 51, nampak one, Right? You should be able to look at your target market and say, hey, most of my customers seem to be in the management or senior management position. You should be able to look at your target market and say, hey, I tak tahu mengapa, alright, 30% target market I dalam bidang kewangan, another 40% dalam oil and gas. Are you able to do that? Because the banks can. And you guys are not even bothering to try and put that in place. So you need this to be able to understand your target market. I'm going to go through one by one. I don't know who my most valuable customer. If you don't know who your most valuable customer is, I will tell you one thing. You tak tahu you nak service siapa. You tak tahu who you're going to want to spend time with one, Alright? Now, I want you to understand, very, very good advisors. You do not treat every customer equally. You treat every customer fairly. But fairly is not equal. Alright? So you need to know the value of each customer. So whenever I ask agency managers, I ask agent, you tahu tak siapa pelanggan you yang paling terror? Tahu. I said, bagaimana you tahu? He said, I grade them by A, B, C, and D. I said, when you grade them by A, B, C, and D, how do you define A? And I dengar all kinds of answer. Oh, orang yang beli policy yang paling besar itulah. I grade A lah. That is absolutely wrong. Absolutely wrong. Because if this guy is 53 years old, he buys a 30 million premium from you, it may be the last policy he will ever buy. Versus a young man who is 29 years old, who is a doctor, baru kahwin, ada 3 orang anak, sungguh pun premium dia hanya 4,000 saja. Tetapi daripada segi all future profit, this guy is worth much more money to you. So what you need to do is to be able to go through your clientele, do what we call lifetime value, lifetime value. That means daripada masa sekarang pelanggan I ni, how much regular premium dia boleh beri daripada saya. Isteri dia boleh beri berapa premium atau contribution. Alright, education policy berapa. Alright, investment berapa. So we will calculate all your commission for the next 30 years. Then we will do net present value all the way down here. And then you ada satu angka. Angka itu adalah lifetime value. Alright, the banks know how to do this. You don't know. Okay, you don't know. Let's go through it. My target market has remained unchanged. Very often, most of you think you're a good producer. I don't think you're a very good producer. Some of you say, but I have been lifetime MDRT. I said, so what if you have been lifetime MDRT? The truth of the matter, I've seen many of you, your production goes like that. I don't see your production go like that. So I don't care if your lifetime value. As a business, your business is not growing. So the moment I see a senior producer and your production is like that, that means your target market has not changed for 5 years and 10 years. Okay, if your product doesn't change, that means your average size case doesn't change. So what does that mean? It goes back to the previous where I thought, kalau you dah tahu lifetime value of each customer, you know prototype, jenis, ciri-ciri pasaran yang I harus target one, you hanya jumpa orang seperti itu, baru your average size case will go up. You guys are not doing this, right? So I'm trying to tell you every single problem that you are currently facing. Tak ada proses. I don't know when customer will need advice from me. Okay, I don't know when customer will need advice from you. Now, some of you got 300 customers, 500 customers, 1,000 customers. Alright, a lot of people tell you, if you are not conscious of life stage events, kalau you tak tahu apabila dia melalui satu tahap kehidupan, kitaran kehidupan yang berubah, how are you going to find a sales opportunity? Understand that? How are you going to find a sales opportunity? Remember, when they get pregnant, there's a sales opportunity. When they get married, there's a sales opportunity. When the baby is born, there's a sales opportunity. When he buys a house, there's a sales opportunity. How do you do so? If you don't have a system to trigger it, to find out whenever certain thing changes, you are not going to have this. The banks know how to do this. You don't. Okay? For some of you who sell single premium, for some of you who sell single premium. Now I know you guys are champion in selling regular premium, but single premium also you can make quite a bit of money. Top ups you can also make quite a bit of money. But to sell investments, there is a lot of different type of selling ideas. There's a lot of type of objections that you don't know how to answer. Okay, so how do you go about it? So what you should do here is to set up systems to send presentations to people, to warm them up, to be able, that presentation, it must be able to answer all their objections already, So by the time the guy say, okay, I jumpa you, I don't need to sell you. I nak hantar presentation kepada you saja. You baca dulu. After they finish, then you call him, would you like to meet up with me? If the guy say yes, it's a 80% close. You don't know how to do this. The banks know how to do this. Okay? Now, I've got problem getting names. I've got problem getting customers. Now, our sales is based on two key things. Nama dan maklumat. Kalau you ada nama, you ada maklumat, you can do sales. Betul atau tidak? Betul? Now, especially sometimes you tanya nama pun tak dapat. Atau nama yang teruk-teruk. You don't have what I call inner circle. The inner circle of the current customer, and you also don't have information about the pelanggan. So one of the things I would suggest that you should consider, guna wasiat, guna will. Alright? But that wasiat and that will has got to be cost effective enough for you to use for all your clients. Because when somebody does a will, alright, you will find out certain things about them. That means the person that they choose as an executor, as a guardian, okay, as a guardian of the person, a guardian of the estate, alright, these are all the people yang paling dekat dengan dia one, you know. When you do a will, you will also have asset liability information. The liability information will allow you to sell a lot of insurance or takaful. The asset information will allow you to sell a lot of investments. So wasiat juga merupakan satu cara, right, to do what we call lead generation. Alright, let's carry on. Next slide. Okay, private retirement schemes. Now, a lot of people talk to me a private retirement scheme, but they say, yeah, but we are insurance company, you know. My company tak qualify lah, tak dapat lah PRS schemes. Now, the PRS scheme is a very, very interesting scheme because it's what we call voluntary EPF, which has got tax benefit to it. Now, I want you to think like a business person. Even though your syarikat tak dapat lesen untuk buat PRS, can't you do a strategic alliance? Can't you talk to people who can do the PRS? Alright? You buka pintu, mereka masuk, lepas tu you dapatkan senarai nama. So you can carry on to do your regular premium and your single premium after that. Let's talk about sales. One by one, I'm talking about the systems. As I go along, kalau you ada masalah tu, you tick lah. Alright? Kalau you tak ada masalah, tak apa. Now let's talk about sales. What are some of the key problems in sales? And I talked about it a little bit with some of the group that was in my session yesterday. Many of you, especially new agents, your feeling about what you do, you don't feel very, very confident one, you know. Because you don't feel very, very confident. Your self-esteem is very, very low. When your self-esteem is very, very low, you cannot sell very, very strongly. Your closing ratio is also very, very, very low. Now, of course, with time, some of you become very, very confident. But how do we get agent-agent baru kita, yang rookie-rookie tu? Bagaimana kita nak binakan confidence tu? Now, so you have got to have systems, and this is not apa yang kita, you can do it, brother. That one, Monday morning, we all like to do. That is bullshit. It does not work. Alright, 1 hour after they leave your Monday morning meeting, engine dah habis lah. Alright, true blue positioning is when the agent know how to think. And you need systems to teach them how to think. In that sense, so the internal confidence will build up. Let's carry on one step further. Next. Now, I've noticed agents, it's very, very interesting. Agents think that petrol is free one. You know. Agents also think they got tons of time in the world. Sometimes when I talk to agents, I find it very, very interesting. 2 weeks ago, I was walking around and I met this friend of mine from one insurance company. I said, hey, what are you doing here? This guy's from Kota Baru, you know. He said, oh, I came here to see a customer. I said, what? He said, I came here to see a customer. I say, one customer. He said, yeah, I came here to see one customer. I said, you are from Kota Baru. He said, yeah. Maybe you can close case, ma. It's very interesting. All right? Agents don't understand your value is. Your value, your most precious commodity is what we call time, And I find it very interesting that agents will drive to Klang, come back to Kuala Lumpur, drive to PJ. So when you do your work like that, I know you all don't understand what we call territorial management. Other salespeople will understand it. Those people selling pharmaceutical sales, they will understand it. They do what we call route planning. All right? They do what we call route planning. So what do you need? You need systems to do territorial management. I ada berapa pelanggan kat Kuantan. I ada berapa pelanggan kat KB. So if I going to go to KB, I better not be seeing one customer, I better be spending 3 days to see 14 customers. That is proper territorial management, which many of you, again, are not doing. Okay? Next. Okay. Thank you. All right, approach scripts. Okay, approach scripts. You need scripts for everything. Next slide. Next. Now let's talk about this thing called fact finding. Fact finding is a very, very, very important issue. When you go into every sales appointment, you need what we call pre-checklist, post-checklist. That means all the steps I am supposed to do when I go in one, Most of it, I'm absolutely sure 99% of you don't have these things. Every single step I have to do, every document I have to prepare. And I've noticed agents will forget to do things. Sometimes after the case, when you go and talk to the GSM, talk to your manager, the manager say, close atau tak close? Tak close, brother. And then you ask the agent, so what went wrong? The agent say, entah, tak tahu. Alright, but if you have a post checklist you can go through, did you do this step? 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 You can then find out which area they did or did not do. Thank you. Alright, let's carry on. Next. Alright. Positioning when you go into the sales appointment. I notice what most of you do is what we call warm up lah. Masuk appointment, warm up, break the ice, warm up. That's not the proper way to do positioning. Now, understand one thing. When you are going in to see a customer, you have what I call this window to position yourself. Okay? There is 80,000 insurance agent, 60,000 Takafu agent, 60,000 unit trust agent, and God knows how many bankers. That you are competing with 200 over 1,000 people. Do you understand that? That means when you walk in, you mesti ada system to say, 99% of the people out there, they do like that. Tapi I buat seperti ini. They do like that. Tapi I buat seperti ini. They do like that. Tapi I buat seperti ini. 99% of them are like that. But I am the top 1%. I do things differently. So we have designed a presentation. We call it financial doctor. Alright, I said, mereka jual produk. Saya buat planning. Mereka jual produk commission yang paling tinggi. Mereka tak kisah. Saya plan dulu. Tengok you ada apa penyakit, baru I diagnose. Mereka buat seperti ni, I buat seperti ni. Mereka buat seperti ni, I buat seperti ni. This is how we differentiate. And you must design that system to differentiate yourself from the 99% out there. And you need to do this right at the first 10-15 minutes. And you need a system for doing so. Next. Okay. The next thing that we are talking about, most of you, sorry to say, you only know how to do product selling. Now, I want you to understand one thing. If you only know how to do product selling, that means you are what we call the option 3 people. I guarantee you, 90% of you will be dead in a few years' time. Okay? Now, understand this thing about fact finding. I tahu you semua benci fact finding, Alright? The percentage that Bank Negara has of agents that do option 1, option 2 is 3%. In Singapore, it's 93%. One day, and I'm telling you, Bank Negara is getting very, very tired because the agency force wants to do the bare minimum. And one day surat akan keluar. Like in every country, because the agency semua ni malas. Semua malas, tak nak belajar. And one day that letter will come, just as it came in Singapore. Okay, we want 90% of your proposals, option 1, option 2. If the agent cannot fulfill, terminate within 3 months. And that's what happened in Singapore. And we lost 36% of our agents. 36% of the agents within 3 months. Kerana apa? I dah beri you 10 tahun untuk prepare. 10 tahun untuk prepare. Jangan cakap you tak ready. That's bullshit. Okay? So, when that day comes, many of you are going to get killed. So please don't wait until that. So fact finding is fundamental. Need analysis is fundamental for sales process going forward. Next slide, please. Now, some of you and many of your companies have actually attempted to do this. Teach all of you time value of money. Betul tak? Teach all of you need analysis. Betul tak? Then lepas you dah belajar 3 hari, 5 hari, masih tak tahu, ini begin mode ke end mode ni? Betul tak? How do I change from, monthly or this or that? This one, am I calculating future value ke present value? So, don't bother about it. What you need here is what we call very, very simple, a financial need analysis software. Kalau you ada financial need analysis software, masuk angka saja. Benda tu akan kira untuk you. Understand? So if you have that tool, it helps you do, because we are there because we want to sell. We are not there to do ini begin mode ke end mode. That is not our job. Alright? And if there are company officers here, I will give one warning to company officers. I've seen all your financial planning software. They are completely, alright, in that sense, non-compliant. Non-compliance means you're trying to make things very, very easy. But if the software came from your company, not from an agency, and the calculations is off or not best practices, if there is a legal case, it will go against your company. So please look at the tools that your company is providing for the agency force. This is something you seriously should look at. What if they want your solution? What if they are short of funds? Okay, I will ask you to have a mortgage planning tool. Now, why mortgage planning tool? Now, you say, but I'm not a banker. Why should I learn things about mortgage? Because Malaysians buy a lot of properties. A lot of their money is tied into property. Do you get it now? Alright, many of them would have bought properties where they pay 7% on interest rate. But now the interest rate, baseline rate, minus 2% is very, very low. If you help them refinance all this property, it will unlock cash that you can use to fund your premiums, to fund your contribution. Faham tak? Faham tak? So we are not asking you to be a banker, but if you have this tool, the tool is to help you get the premium, get the commission, get the contribution. What if betul apa pun tak ada? The customer tak ada apa-apa wang. Should you help the customer? Now at this point in time, my philosophy is a little bit different from many of you. Most bankers, most unit trust people, most insurance people, tak kisah. Kalau pelanggan tu tak ada wang, he's not my prospect. I personally, this is my personal view lah. I think we as financial advisors has a responsibility to help pelanggan kita go from the red to the black. So we help them by providing a budgeting tool. We call it Expensify. Just for them to what budgeting. And we'll give them advice how to slowly shift, help them do that consolidation, help them do that restructuring, and when necessary, introduce them to AKPK so we can shift them back into the black. And we notice one thing. All the customers that we can shift into the black are completely loyal to us one, This is what we have noticed. Nobody can touch this pelanggan selepas itu. Tapi most of you tak kisah pelanggan seperti itu yang ada sedikit masalah kewangan. Okay, next. Let's talk about solution development. Okay? Now, understand one thing. The customer is getting more and more intelligent. When you ask them, hey, you should shift your money from bank account to us. You should shift your money from EPF to us. You should shift your money from Tabung Haji to us. Do you have a tool to make the comparisons? Real tool, bukan cakap one, no. Proper statistics. Now, if you don't have all of these things, very hard for you to make the comparison. Next. How then do you compare? Sometimes I know many of you get into a competition situation with each other. I'm not promoting it, but sometimes are there differences between each insurance company? Do you have different life fund returns? Do you have different management expenses? Yes. Alright, some companies have got certain strengths. Do you know how to menonjolkan kekuatan syarikat you? Kalau you tak ada informasi ni, how then do you make the comparisons? Next. Alright, how then do you show investment returns? Some of your companies have got very, very good investments. How then do you do the comparatives? Next. Now, this is very interesting. ILP have been sold by the insurance industry for more than 15 years. More than 15 years. And we are told in investments, the way to structure an investment is what we call asset allocation. Everybody has been saying it. All the experts say it. All the Nobel Prize laureates say it. But yet there is not one singular insurance company that says, okay, kalau dia moderate, you should put this fund together in this nisbah. Tak ada satu syarikat. But yet we tell our people to be professional. We tell our people to go out. But yet they don't give us a tool, So we ask our manager pun tak tahu. Manager ask senior manager pun tak tahu. So we study about asset allocation. But we don't have the tool. So you need a tool to be able to say, hey, how much money in fixed income? How much money in balance? How much money in my equity? Alright? How do we do this? We talk, but we have no tool. Next. Then let's talk about this thing called portfolio management. Every now and then, especially if you sell single premium, sometimes you sell regular premium ILP funds. Your customer will ask you, the situation as it is, I harus redeem ke? I harus switch ke? Bila saya harus switch? Agent semua tak tahu bagaimana nak jawab. Betul tak? Betul tak? Tapi you jual saja. Tapi pelanggan tanya, saya harus switch tak? Switch. Harus switch tak sekarang? Tak tahu. So you need a portfolio management tool to give them a system how to do this thing. Next. How then do you compare different ILP funds? Do you have the statistic to compare your company's ILP funds with another company ILP funds? Next. Alright, if every now and then, don't forget, when you are selling ILP or when you are selling single premium, you know how much money out there in the unit trust market? There are billions and billions and billions out there in the unit trust market. Actually, many of your ILP funds can fight unit trust one, Many of your company's funds can fight unit trust. Tapi you tak ada tool nak buat comparison saja. If you have a tool to make the comparison, you can collect, alright, probably 100 billion. I give for example, one of the big companies here, their fixed income fund is like number one, in the world compared to every bond fund in the whole of Malaysia. And there is 30 billion worth of bond fund. I want to put things in example. I don't want to mention which company, but you should know lah. If you had that bond fund, you pergi keluar saja, you boleh kutip 30 billion. Bayangkan. Tapi semua malas. Tak nak buat perbandingan. Alright, tak ada tool. Carry on. Next. Alright, internal rate of return. How do you make proper comparisons? Most of you, the way you do comparisons of short-term endowment, it's not the proper way of doing short-term endowment. Now, I want to, many of you sell all this short-term endowment. The way you sell, the concept that you sell, I nak beritahu you, that's illegal. Kalau bank negara listens to the way you do your, masuk berapa tahun, keluar berapa tahun, or you tengok lump sum, you dapat berapa kali ganda, that way of doing presentation It's illegal. Kalau bank negara found that out, besok dah kena terminated dah. Right? The way to actually do it, because money in, money in, money in, money out, money out, money out, is what we call IRR calculation. If you've gone for time value of money class, IRR calculation. That is the proper way to make the comparison. So you need a tool to compare it properly, not the way you have been selling all your short-term endowment. I tahu, 90% of you are selling it wrongly, illegally. All right? And one particular company dah kena hentam teruk because of that. Now let's carry on. How do you compare against stockbrokers? You say, why should we compare against stockbroker? I compete against everybody because as a financial advisor, I'm fighting with a unit trust person, I'm fighting with a real estate person, I'm fighting against a stockbroker, I'm fighting against a bank.